Welcome everyone to the 15th Annual Growing Online Learning Conference presented by Illinois Community Colleges Online. The theme for the 2023 conference is creating meaningful interactions in the online classroom, and we hope this year's conference offers you ideas and strategies to engage your students. I'm Jeff Newell. Thank you for being here today. ILCA would like to thank Heartland Community College for providing the web conferencing platform for use in this year's conference. Please note the captioning is available for the conference sessions. Our schedule briefly for the 3 days is on the screen. It can also be found at the conference website at ilco.net under resources and events. Links to attend the live sessions will be found on the conference website and in your registration confirmation email. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at jeff.newell@illinois.gov. Recordings of these presentations and handouts will be available at the conference site following the conference. A note to our participants, we ask that everyone stay muted when not speaking. We're planning on questions at the end, though if there is a burning question during the presentation, we can certainly address it then. Our keynote presentation this morning is Demystifying Micro-Credentials, Digital Badges, Alternate Credentials, and All That Stuff with Dr. Luke Dowden and Amber O'Casey of the Alamo Colleges District. We thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Welcome, Luke and Amber.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you so much. It's nice to be with you all, albeit virtually. Thanks to you and Anna and Lisa for all of your hospitality and support of us. And our goal is to try to give you a real high-level view of micro-credentials and then show you some things that we're doing. So we're happy to be with you this morning. I'm going to share my screen with you. And I can see you. Will you just let me know if you can see that okay? Great. All right. And so my colleague Amber and I are going to go through this. We've got a few polls that we'll bring up in just a few minutes. We are with the Alamo Colleges District. Our mission is to empower our diverse communities for success. We are located in San Antonio, Texas, and we'll give you a feel for us. I run an integrated support services unit called Alamo Colleges Online, and our mission is about building colleges' capacity. So I understand you're all individually accredited colleges in Illinois, and so are we. We serve 5 colleges through our district support operations, and Amber and I are part of that team. We're a very large community college district, so about 68,000 credit students, 100,000 students. If you look at all that we train in San Antonio, Texas, a lot of people don't know this, but San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the United States. We're expected to grow by 1 million people in the next 10 years, but I have to be honest with you, I feel like the 1 million people are already here. I've been here for 5 years and there's been expansive growth. So you can see where we're located in Bexar County. And we have also 8 regional and neighborhood centers. So about 5,000 employees, a pretty big place to serve our community. This is the profile of our fully online student. Because I have an assumption, unless you tell me different, you're all online learning leaders, right? You're doing something with online learning. And so you can see this is the profile of our learner. We have this past fall 13,070 learners at one of our 5 colleges studying with us completely online. And she's 26 years old, studying part-time, average of 8 credit hours, and mainly a continuing student. Our fully online students have trended younger. So although our marketing efforts are very much focused at the 22 plus, our 18 to 21-year-olds are growing. So we are in a growth mode. And so if some of your colleges are not in a growth mode, we understand, the impacts of the pandemic. And we're fortunate to be in one of those growth centers for enrollment in community colleges and especially in online learning. So before we transition to this, I'm going to stop sharing really quickly. We wanted to get a sense of who's in the room. We had a poll question. So Anna or Jeff, you want to pull up that first poll question? We wanted to get a sense of your experience with micro-credentials and digital badges, if you don't mind to share with us. Oh, great. Numbers are coming up. All right. And there's two questions there, so I think we provided them both at the same time. I love this participation rate. This is good. Also, feel free to put your questions in the chat as we go along. Sometimes we'll try to answer them, being mindful of time, and then also at the end. So most people in the room are interested, never heard of them is there, or we've got interested in them and starting to use them. Let's see, why are you interested? Still decided? I'm excited. Great. That's one of my reasons. I'm all about employability of learners. So I'm with that group of you that answered there. I want to provide digital credentials, a learning experience. Good. All right. Amber, any comments on the poll?
No, but thank you all for participating. It gives us a sense of what to talk about and what you may be more interested in. So thank you.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I can share the results with you. There you can kind of see who's in the room. Can everybody see that? Are y'all seeing that? Laurie, I see you're on the screen. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the results? Good. Thank you. All right. Great. All right. Well, we will go back and going to cover some information for you and excited to do that. We're just going to talk real high level about the skills market. There is a big national movement around skills-based hiring. And I'll tell you that I don't think anyone's got it completely figured out. And there are lots of groups doing a lot of work. But one thing is very clear, and we did this with our own data. We had 4 different research studies that we crossed, and looked at what were the most in-demand human skills. But there are other studies that there is definitely a uniquely human skills gap. And I can tell you in our region, sorry about that, I can tell you in our region that the most in-demand uniquely human skills are writing, oral communication, and collaboration. One of the groups I would encourage you to read, this was a very eye-opening report for us in summer of 21. Strata Education Group and Gallup had been tracking adults' interest in learning through the pandemic. And when we saw this, we were really surprised that in their population, and again, there's about 12,000 in the sample here, 20% of the adults working age had completed a non-degree credential. And 1 in 5, it was the highest. And so this was eye-opening to us. Since you're all community colleges, this was also encouraging. So during this time, we had a design team. We had a design team with professionals from all of our colleges across our district, people from budget, people from research, and faculty were involved. But non-degree credentials issued by community colleges had the highest ratings. So if you ask people they completed them, was it worth the cost? Did it help them achieve their goals, or did it make them attractive? They would say yes, at a rate higher than they would get those experiences from other groups. So this is really good data. Encourage you to read those reports. I think it's called Public Perspective from Strata Education Group. And Anna, we'll try to get the links to these afterwards. We also wanted to understand our market. So this is American Community Survey data. American Community Survey is data that is collected by US Census in between the large census, right? And we track this data. You can mine this data just like we did. It is some work, but we wanted to understand in our county where our colleges reside, what was the market? And this is of some college and no degree and high school graduates. I'll tell you, it's a conservative view because 18 to 24-year-olds, they conflate some college no degree with associate degree earners. So when you're looking at that group, we think it's underreported. So this is a conservative view, but we think there's a market around 700,000 for our online students and for our micro-credentials. So I'd say we look at this same data when we're thinking about opportunity. And again, I would encourage you to, if you don't have this data already, look at American Community Survey data. And we're, of course, very focused on those with some college no degree. So the next poll I think we wanted to ask here, right, Amber, is this is our last poll question, and it's just going to be in the chat. So Anna's going to post it in the chat, and we're just going to ask you to answer 1 or 2 words that come to mind. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Amber O'Casey, to take us through the next part. So we're just going to stop sharing for a minute and wanted to ask you that question. All right, great. Thanks, Laurie. Thanks, Susan. Small. Okay, great, Terry. Okay, thanks, Sandy. Yes. Good. Oh man, this is great. Y'all are a great group. This is like being together, but in person. We really appreciate your participation. Okay, good. Great. Good. Okay. This gives us a good sense, Amber. I think this is a good setup for your so I'll share my screen, Amber, and we will continue.
Excellent. So thank you all for participating in that poll. And, you really highlighted a lot of things that we're going to be talking about. So I'm glad we're in the same headspace. Essentially, what I'm going to do is just provide some background about where we started, where we're at, and really just try to share like some of the value that we found and some of the engagement that we've involved ourselves in order to grow this across our 5 independently accredited colleges. So next slide, please. When we first started this work, when I first started this work, it was about 3 years ago. I had just been hired by Alamo colleges, and we had just transitioned to remote because of the pandemic. So there was a initiative prior to this that ended prematurely because of the pandemic. And so we were discussing how we could restart it. And we had to come up with terms, right? How are we going to define this? What are our general principles going to be? Because we're thinking of students and wanting to create a consistent experience for them and to create credentials that have value. We didn't want it to be the wild, wild west of digital badges or micro-credentials. So this is essentially where we've landed. And it's those terms that you all said. It's short, rapid training that's focused on skills. And that's it in a nutshell. They can be evidenced with a digital badge, that can be a validated indicator that someone has earned the micro-credential. They could also be validated with professional certificates or other types of evidence. A lot of what I'll talk to you today about are digital badges, because we've really focused on that work, but we are expanding out into other types of micro-credentials. Currently, we offer our digital badges in 2 types of learning experiences. One is integrated into academic courses, and I'll dive deep into that in a little bit. And then the other way is in micro courses. And I think somebody put mini course in the chat, which is perfect. So essentially, it's ideally 15 hours or less of learner time to learn a very specific skill and then to walk away with a digital credential, also known as a digital badge. Next slide, please. I noticed too that a lot of you posted badges in there. So I'm guessing you have a sense of what they are. We like to include this slide because the takeaway here is that it's not just an icon, it's a validated digital credential. It has metadata in it. If somebody clicks on it, you can see that it was awarded by our institution, that skills were demonstrated in order to earn the badge. It's not just a copy and paste job, right? It's a valid credential. We also are proud to say that they're shareable, it's interoperable. Students can put them on social media, put them on resumes to make sure that ownership that they have of that skill, they're empowered to share it with who they would like to share it with in order to improve the job prospects. Next slide, please. So I started in on some of the why. We've really honed in and focused on social mobility. You saw who our student is. And that's where we landed. We wanted to stay really focused on how can we increase social mobility and students' job competitiveness. And so we focused on in-demand skills. We started with marketable, but we're expanding into technical. But again, it's about empowering students and their job prospects. The guiding principles here provide a framework for us, and they've evolved a little since we've started. But think about, 5 independently accredited colleges in one city. So everyone had ideas of what to do and what would be valuable and how it should look. And we really needed to create some guiding principles that would allow for flexibility and creativity at the colleges, while at the same time maintaining a consistent student experience so they would know what they were getting and the value of it. And so these are our current guiding principles. Essentially, for digital badges, they need to include skills assessments, represent in-demand skills, and they are awarded by credentialed faculty members and trainers. Next slide, please. I'm excited to say too that our work has grown and we were able to develop a digital badge taxonomy. And so we quickly outgrew, some of our early work, and this is it. We launched it, I don't know, I think maybe 6 months ago. We're on version 2 already because the work is growing so quickly. But these are the types of digital badges that we landed on. There are some that represent marketable skills. In Texas, there's a big push for marketable skills across the state. There are state initiatives around it. And so that's that type of badge. A skill badge is essentially a marketable skill or a technical skill. Those tend to be more competency-based. The ability skill is essentially, can you demonstrate the skill over a period of time? Not just a one-time thing, but can you continue to do it? The certification badges would represent like a level 1 certificate or an industry certificate. And then articulation badges would essentially represent credit for prior learning experiences. We have a lot of veterans here in San Antonio. We are often called Military City USA. And so this particular experience can be especially valuable to people like veterans who have a wealth of experience, but they may not have a credential that demonstrates those skills that they've earned. So just to be transparent, this is our framework. We have not done all of this. We are working towards doing all of this and try to provide guidelines for our colleges to expand in the ways that they would like to expand based on their own initiatives. Next slide, please. So one of the responses to this expansive growth was Luke reorganized our department and created a team of 2 for the Skills Lab. I am the current team member of the Skills Lab here today, and we are essentially a specialized group within our department that focuses on supporting the colleges on their micro-credential initiatives. Next slide, please. Here's a range of the things that we do. High level, like we train faculty and staff when it comes to micro-credentials. What are they? How do I issue them? That type of thing. We also design micro courses. We work with subject matter experts to create learning experiences. We collaborate with the colleges on new micro-credentials, and we support the development of micro pathways at the colleges. What we do continues to expand because we're learning as we go, but these are some good examples of what we do. So now, Luke, you've been watching the chat. I feel like I've been talking at y'all for a while. Everybody still good? Okay. I get to talk to you now about engaging faculty. And I think one of our biggest takeaways is that we could not, thank you, Lori, for the thumbs up, that we could not do this in a silo, and that we had to engage our community and create an ecosystem. This part is going to be focused on how we engaged faculty. And then in a few minutes, Luke is going to focus in on how we engaged with employers. But it takes all of us together to figure out how we can best serve our students and what type of skills employers are looking for. So that's really what we're going to focus in on now. Next slide, please. So going back, post early pandemic, we were like, okay, what do we do? How do we restart this? We're all traumatized and kind of trying to figure things out. In a nutshell, we received an internal grant to create a training called Course Plus Badge, and it trained faculty members how to integrate an education design lab marketable skill badge into one of their courses. Next slide, please. I'm just going to kind of highlight these. The biggest takeaway here is that faculty looked at what they were already doing, identified the skills that they were already teaching, and then we showed them how to create skills assessments that students could do in order to earn a digital badge. This experience is offered to students in a badge module. We've been continuing it for a while now, but when we started, we didn't know, are faculty going to like this or are they not? And I'm happy to report that the feedback was positive, and we've been able to complete several iterations of the training based off of participant feedback. How can we streamline it? How can we streamline this? How can we make it better? What's working, what's not, that type of thing. So go ahead, Luke.
I'm sorry, I unintentionally pinned myself. I was trying to unmute. I just wanted to give Amber a lot of credit here. One of the benefits of having the ability to have staff focus on an opportunity like this for our learners was that she's consistently listened to feedback, and this has never looked the same. We ran this for what was it, 8 semesters? We ran cohorts, maybe it's a few more, but it always got better. And I want to thank her and acknowledge her leadership and her commitment, right, to really listening to feedback. We even piloted it with 4 trusted faculty members that we had some experience with. And I'd also say this to all of you, this work came directly out of a partnership with Goodwill Industries. So we had some experience delivering micro courses and micro learning experiences, and then wanted to scale inside of our academic operations. So, just wanted to, again, to acknowledge you, Amber, for the work that you've done on this.
Thank you. And it's been a real pleasure working with faculty on this, and just having them as thought partners. And so I'm glad we're continuing the work. It's been a real honor. So they did essentially, one of the consistent things where we met a couple of times, we had what we called faculty discussions where we could brainstorm some of the assignments together. And it was mostly asynchronous though, with weekly Canvas assignments. And the completers, this was a faculty idea, by the way, they received their own digital badge. And that was to give them the experience that their students are going to go through. What's it like getting the email, setting up the account, sharing the credential, that type of thing. So I'm grateful to that faculty member for that suggestion. Next slide. These are the this is the set of badges that they could select from and map in their courses. We wanted to take the work out of creating a badge for them and just kind of let them focus on what are you already teaching, what skills can you highlight in your course. And so this is the set of those badges. Next slide. So as Luke was saying, we've had 6 faculty cohorts and we're up to 139 badge specialists. For the most part, the feedback was very positive, and we average now about 100 sections of courses with a badge integrated into the course. So it's a fun project per semester. Yes, thank you. Next slide, please. So here's some data. So you'll see that first year where we were trying to decide, how are we going to do this? Is there faculty interest? Is it going to work? And then you can see in fall 2021, it really mushrooms and grew exponentially. It's not on this slide, but last semester, fall 2022, we awarded the most badges ever, which was 970 in that one semester. And so this is really a shout out to our faculty. They're the ones doing the work, working with the students and awarding the badges, but it's really amazing to see what they're doing and how they are giving students a way to articulate the skills that they're earning.
Yeah, do you mind if I make just a few comments here? This data is very hard won. Our system now does not tell us earner rate. So we go through a calculation and a validation of this data. And I would say that like a metric that you may want to press on with whatever vendor you choose to partner with is earner rate. We also think this validates what Amber showed you when she showed you the metadata, is that we're not interested in participation badges, right? That's not what we're after. We're not making a value judgment about them. That's just not our focus. We want them to be connected to skills assessment and so show some mastery, not complete mastery, right? We're always building on different skills. And so I would say that, we also, when we comment internally on this data, say to ourselves, well, it means students may need another opportunity to earn a skill or earn evidence of the skill, right? So notice not everyone that was enrolled earned the badge. And we just think that's evidence of the need for more opportunity. And so that's, I just wanted to make those comments, Amber.
Thank you. Those are great points. I see a good question here. Are you collecting data or have a plan for collecting data on how the badges are being used? In our software, we can see how badges are shared. on which social media platforms, how many, like the number of shares, that type of high level data, but we want more. And we are continuing to try to find ways to get some longitudinal data on how effective are employers using them, that type of thing. How many jobs did it lead to? So right now we just have qualitative data on from students about, hey, I got an interview and I got a job, and that type of thing. But Luke, do you want to jump in?
We do have a survey that's embedded in all of our micro courses or in the badge earning module that Amber created to make it easy for faculty, so a student, completes and what do I do to actually earn the badge and get the badge awarded and share. We have a student survey there. We've gone back and forth on should we require it or not. And I'm more towards requiring it, I'll tell you, because I want the data, I want the student satisfaction data, but I've listened to my team, they're like, we don't think it should be required. So we're okay to be honest with you about that, right? Because I thank you for the really good question, but it's a common, I'll use the word debate lightly, but we have conversations about and what should we collect, when should we collect it? And I'll be honest with y'all, it's because we know our students are surveyed a lot, right? They're over surveyed, and we want to be considerate of that and also not ask things we're not going to action on. And so I just wanted to pause for a minute and really respect the question, because we do have some meaningful conversations that are ongoing about what are we collecting, how are we sharing it, how are we interpreting it, and how is it ultimately benefiting the learner. So I hope that helps answer your question.
Okay. Well, again, thanks for the great question. And so I get to share now how we engage or continuing to engage faculty. And essentially, if you'll go to the next slide, from the training and another training that we offer, Badge Coach, and just other interests around the district, we saw that this community of practice was organically developing. And there was a camaraderie that was happening with other faculty who were immersed in this work. And so we officially launched a community of practice. I believe it was early 2021. A faculty member was selected to lead the community of practice, and I'm happy to say it's still going. We have an average attendance of about 20 to 40 faculty members. I was just in one yesterday, and we had about 20 people show up on their free time. So to me, I really respect that and value that they're willing to do that for us and for our students. So the purpose is for them to come to us and be thought partners. We really need them to know how we can best serve our students. They're the front line. And so they have done that for us consistently. Essentially what we'll do is bring them a problem. Like, hey, this is the thing that we're working on. This is the thing that we need help on. Will you please help us? And then they'll go into breakout rooms and give us very honest feedback, which I respect and value. Next slide, please. The expectations are, and again, it's voluntary. We don't track anything. We just hope that they will do this, is to participate in 2 synchronous events per semester. Those are the meetings that I was just telling you about, where you essentially show up and share your thoughts with us. Provide that constructive feedback, and ideally to be an ambassador for, it started with marketable skills, but also now digital badges, and it's expanding into micro-credentials. Oh, I also wanted to provide some examples for things that they helped us with. There was one of the things that they told us was that they really wanted an attribute on their course that designated it as a course that had a badge. They were very passionate about that, and we were able to make that happen for them. So now students can look at when they're registering to select a course that has a badge in it. They also helped us to elevate our website and to provide clear criteria of what students are doing in order to earn the badges. They were key players in the development of our digital badge taxonomy. And then yesterday, I presented a proposed training pathway to them to extend badge coach and badge specialist or course plus badge into a pathway, and they provided feedback on that. And so I'm looking forward to digging into that soon. Next slide, please.
Sorry, I muted myself. I think we're to the next phase of this, but I just want to stop for a moment and just say to you, the faculty community of practice has really been great for us. We've not brought them easy problems on purpose, right? When we got stumped, we went to them and said, hey, we're stumped, or we don't think we're using evidence pages well, the tool that we had to show evidence of the badge and what it meant. And they've been great. And so I would encourage you, whatever you do, get a group of folks together that you at least can be thought partners or encourage you, because there's a lot of work happening and it can feel like standing under a waterfall sometimes. And I'm saying that to you from someone that speaks nationally about this frequently and tries to keep up and maybe does a good job some days. But it's good to have a group of colleagues that you can depend on, whatever it looks like. I also want to acknowledge that the first time I ever heard the community of practice was from a man, Dr. Ray Schroeder from Illinois. So I don't know if any of you know Dr. Schroeder, but I was in a leadership program called Institute for Emerging Leaders in Online Learning, which is, by the way, accepting applications. And he was a faculty member, and Ray's a big proponent of community of practice. And I can say we used his template and his model, and it's worked well. So I saw a few of you know Dr. Schroeder as a dear friend of mine, a person I deeply respect. Okay, can you all give me thumbs up, thumbs down, kind of how are you doing? We've got a little bit more we want to share with you, but we want to keep you interested. I think we've acknowledged most of the questions in the room. Yolanda made a comment that I wanted to just make a quick observation on, and thank y'all kind of letting us know you're still with us. Good deal. Because sometimes it can feel lonely looking at black screens, right? So those of you that are able to have your cameras on, we appreciate it. And those that you don't, we're not expecting you to. But we appreciate the interaction. So she said, skills can be highlighted from student learning outcomes in a course. We have a significant project with one of our colleges where they've done that. They've mapped marketable skills from outcomes, and now we need the technology to work. And Amber has been working on that. I am very hopeful in a couple of months, we're going to make a very large announcement about that work. But yes, Yolanda, that can be done. It is being done. The challenge sometimes, if you're using an outcome tracking assessment software, getting it to cooperate with the badging software. But I know Anna will keep in touch with us. And if any of you head down that road, you please reach out to us and we'll help you. We'll let you know what we paid for. So maybe you don't have to pay for it. You can, if you're using the same vendor. So just we all want to help, right? And we're kind of facing some headwinds with the technology, but that's the other thing. We don't want the technology to wag the dog, right? All right. So yeah, that's good. The technical information. So Laurie, what we may do is connect with you offline if it's okay, because we can really geek out on the technical part. Amber's like a complete expert, and I'll have to say many times, okay, say that again. And she's like, this is what's not happening. I'm like, oh, so the product is not doing that. No, and it's going to get worse. So she's a real subject matter expert and would really enjoy you connecting with her. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna share our screen again. Thanks again, and we're gonna kind of transition here. We reached a point in our work where we had to stop talking about badges. So we realized that people started focusing on the theme, the badge, and not the skills. And I would say to you, you're gonna want to be mindful. So Laura, you gave me a perfect transition without knowing it, right? The technical is very important. You need it to work. You need to be able to award them efficiently and have it scale and limit human intervention on that side, right? And we can tell you all the ins and outs of what we did wrong. But I would say to you, as you're communicating, it needs to be about learners. It needs to be about skills. It needs to be about whatever you decide your why is. And it's important, Amber showed you our why, that you have that to go back to that, to center why you're doing the work when it really gets rough, or the data is just not where you want it to land just yet. So we told you already about micro courses, but we got into micro pathway work. And I want to acknowledge that we have worked with Education Design Labs since the beginning of our badging work. If you're not aware of them, I would strongly encourage you to follow their micro-credentialing work, their community college growth engine work. They put out some amazing stuff. Our work with Goodwill that created Course Plus Badge, there's 4 stories about it that you can read about on their site that have been published. And we're not bragging about the stories, but it's really gets to the learners, right? It tells the people that we were helping. And I'll say this to you as well. If you can find an employer that will commit to working with frontline workers and working with you, that's righteous work, right? Because those are the people that need it the most. And we love Goodwill because they are very much about helping their frontline workers. And we know that's a lot of time, right, where people are underpaid or they're underemployed. So really quickly, a micro pathway is essentially 2 or more stackable credentials that lead to that first job, right? That provides a living wage. A living wage in San Antonio is anywhere from $15 to $17, depending on who you talk to an hour. And remember, we live in the city with the highest rate of urban poverty. And so we are very much focused on these. It's another metric for us leading to a livable wage. We have been very fortunate to have industry partners in healthcare. We had to work on a lot of internal alignment, Anna. I mean, I would say this, like a lot of my work is on internal alignment because we're a big place. But we've been able to engage through grants from our state. We're very fortunate our state is very focused on what they call credentials of value. You can look at Talent Texas Strong, which is the higher ed plan, and micro-credentials are there. They're just called credentials of value. So these are some different things that we have done. We hired subject matter experts from our partners. They said we will guarantee interviews if you will have people complete a micro course in career management. We did. We marketed it, and they did. They honored their commitment. So industry partners are very interested because they want talent. And they very much are trying to find ways that they can do skills-based hiring. Some places like IBM have got it figured out, right? They took the bachelor's degree as a requirement away from 50% of their jobs globally. And we worked with IBM as well, not delivering training, but we had them consult with us. We were very fortunate to learn from them. But not everyone has got this figured out. This is what we did as a result of our grants. We created 15 micro courses that were employer validated, meaning that we had a focus around nursing and allied health. So we went from that list that Amber showed you, right, of unique human skills, collaboration, resilience, etc., to skills that are in context. Empathetic patient care is one that we heard is a necessity to be successful at, but we may need nurses to improve on. We also had entry-level jobs, so where people needed to have certain skills. So there's 4 new micro-credential programs. And Amber, I'm trying to think of a phlebotomy tech, right? Which is not a full phlebotomy program, but they needed people to learn how to stick and draw blood that was painless, right? So we created some things that could lead into those entry-level jobs. And then we created 5 micro pathways that would help take a person from being a cashier and work their way up to being a nurse. Our next goal, right, is we've built it, but we have to make it visible. So there's a lot of work, right? And we're proud of it, but then you have to go make it visible. I would say this, one of the ways that we've centered our work, and I don't think this is in the slide deck, but Amber, if you can find our micro-credential insight briefs, we've got a set of 6 insight briefs. And here's what helped us stay focused on the learner. And you'll probably get tired of me saying that, but I like people and I want our work to benefit people who need it the most. We created 3 personas, and we have an insight brief about personas. So a part of our why was really defining who is it that we're trying to serve. And I'm happy to tell you, we then spent a year marketing to those personas and validated that they were accurate. These are some of the what we call skills in context, right? So we are very much about this work now. What does IT need? What does healthcare need? And from listening to them, that's where we created these. These didn't just appear, right? Oh, this sounds cool, let's do that. We were listening to what our partners were telling us they want. And that's the important part of engaging with employer partners. And I would say, please do not do this work without an employer partner. Because I saw it in another state near you, where this college created these great digital badges and micro-credentials, and then didn't have anybody to sell them to. They're like, well, we just don't have participation. And you will waste a lot of time and energy if you don't have an employer partner that's helping to validate if they care about what you're doing. And you all know this as community college professionals, but it still rings true for this. It still rings true. We are very fortunate that we've had anyone from food service to those that are involved in the donation economy, like Goodwill, that are interested in our employability skills bundle. So we created a skills bundle. Again, we took 6 of our micro courses and put them into a bundle. And this was based on the needs in our community. Now, we have people that are purchasing this from us outside of our community, but this was all about what our region said it needed based on workforce data, based on our own studies, based on talking to employers. So you will get this slide deck. I won't belabor this, but you see how we went from something more general, and then we are really becoming strategic and focused based on employer partners. Amber, anything that I'm missing? Because you know me, I get excited. I'm sorry, and it took me a while to get warmed up, but I get going and want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
No, I mean, I guess I could add that it is it's really amazing to see the relationships that develop and the advocacy on both sides. You know, we are working with the employer to sometimes help them to gain the skills to, how do I do an online course? How do I log into that? How do I close a tab and open up another tab? And so, especially with the frontline workers, we found that there's a level of scaffolding that might come up, and that we and the employer need to find ways to develop resources or provide mentor support in order to help them on their way. But think of long run, how those to us might seem like really small skills will really serve them in the long run for their other career options. And maybe they'll be interested in pursuing other online education based off of this micro course experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's, so I'm going to just transition here. We've also started partnering. So one of the decisions, and for those of you that have a budget and are a budget decision maker, one of the things that we've tried to be conscious about, do we need to buy, build, or partner to develop it? So we've bought some things, right? We have a relationship with a very large, massive online course provider. And there are options out there, right? So I'm not going to advocate for one or the other, but I'm happy to talk to you about it offline if you have questions. As a benefit of that, we got early, we're an early receiver of licenses for the Grow with Google professional certificates. And I hope the person that put Google certificates is still here. I saw you put that in the chat earlier, and I was like, oh, great, I have a slide about it. We've just been giving these away. We said to our students, hey, here's your chance. If you want to take a course and take a professional certificate, an open online on-demand course, we're going to provide that to you. We've expanded it to our alumni. And the challenge, right, is to continue to let people know this is an opportunity for you. 2 of our very large university systems in Texas are also integrating these deeply in their curriculum. So a student finishes a class and earns a course certificate. I'll give you a personal story. One of our personas was a 20-year-old Caucasian male, and I didn't believe in the persona. And then the person showed up in my house as one of my sons. And he went through one of these certificates, but he didn't finish. And I said, why? You're like one class from finishing. Get the certificate. He goes, Dad, I have the course certificates. That's what I cared about. So another benefit of these, there are course certificates because there's about 5 or 6 courses of these, and he got what he needed. And that's what he wanted to put on his LinkedIn profile and promote. And he didn't finish the certificate. I'm not advocating for that. It was nice that I actually had a person that represented our persona that was giving me, real-time feedback on the experience. The other thing that's going to happen in Texas with badges, micro-credentials, professional certificates is our state's eventually going to have us track those and report on them. And we're also having those conversations. That's kind of where we are next is, okay, we're doing these things. We've got great examples. Are we tracking it? Are we going to be able to report it? What are the efficacy of these, right? So we're definitely into that work as well. I wanted to tell you that these are all groups that we're engaged with, right? So you were like, I always appreciate when whoever speaking says, hey, here's who I'm paying attention to. The other group I'd tell you to pay attention to is Walmart Foundation. Walmart Foundation is all over this. They have a leader within their group that posts multiple times a day about skills-based hiring, learner employment records, comprehensive learner record, digital wallets. We didn't talk about any of that with you because we have shovel-ready plans, but we don't have time to invest in it because of the employer demand for our services. And so, but I wanted to share with you the groups that we're following and we're paying attention to. The other decision we made, Open Skills Network is doing some amazing work. We made a decision not to get into the skills framework, but we would find competency frameworks that already existed and align to them. So anytime we can, you can spend a lot of time creating skills taxonomy, and Open Skills Network is doing a great job, but we did not want to spend our time and effort there. We wanted to spend it on product development, serving learners, and serving employers. And I'm not saying it's an either or. If you have the staff, you might can do both. We couldn't commit to both fully. All right. And with that, that's our contact information. I'm very active on LinkedIn. You're invited to follow or connect. Do a lot of engaging there. But that's our contact information. I know it's about 10:47, and we tried to answer questions as we went. But what other questions come to mind? Things that we can help you out with, and we also want to give you the gift of having a little bit more transition time. Your head hurt? Sometimes I remember how dense some of these can be. So if your head hurts, that's okay too.
Do you have any questions from anyone? Feel free to unmute and ask a question if you'd like, or provide it in the chat.
Well, if you think of something later, please reach out, after you've had some time to reflect, because I know this was a lot of information. So it may take a minute to kind of figure out, like, where do I start to ask questions? So if it hits you later, please feel free to reach out. We love having conversations and building partnerships and continuing to grow our ecosystem outside of San Antonio. So please reach out to us if you think of questions later.
The other thing I would tell you is there's two really cool events that we go to that if you've got a little travel money, at the end of this month, the Digital Credential Summit that's put on by One Ed Tech is a great event. We've been twice. And this year we set a goal last year to bring an employer partner. We're bringing one with us. We're like so excited about it. And then the other event is the Badge Summit in Boulder, Colorado at UC Boulder. And we went last summer. I think we have plans to go again. Those are two really good events. The UC Boulder one, y'all, the reason I liked it is it had more of a global feel, right? So there was a global feel to it. There's also a webinar next month about global micro-credentials by Holland IQ. It's a free webinar. I watch them to see what's happening in the global market because this is a $1 trillion industry. Micro-credentials are $1 trillion. It's more than $1 trillion industry. So, but when I really want to get a global perspective, I spend some time with Holland IQ. I should have put that icon up there. All right. Well, that's all the gifts we have. Hopefully you got from your experience with us. We'll give away what we know. We're happy to share with you. There's a lot of people that we need to help in the United States. I'm sure you feel that way about your state, and we want people to be able to survive and thrive, right? And so we just appreciate the opportunity to be with you this morning. Amber, thanks so much. I always enjoy getting to co-present with you.
All right. Let me just say thank you, Dr. Luke Dowden and Amber O'Casey. Everyone, so your appreciation in the chat. You've already started to do that with reactions or text, whatever. But we thank you for being here with us today. We want to let everybody know we will have a conference evaluation that we will email out following the conference, and you can be on the lookout for that. Our session this afternoon at 2 p.m. is championing RSI for Online Success. Our presenters are from College of Lake County, Dr. Carrie Proft, Scott Ryle, and Meredith Tamilty. Links to attend the live sessions are on the conference website and in your registration confirmation email. If you have any questions at all, I'm Jeff Newell, and you can contact me at jeff.newell@illinois.gov. Recordings of these presentations and handouts will be available at the conference site after the following the conference. So we thank everyone for being here today. We hope you have a good lunch and hope to see you here at 2 o'clock. Thank you, everyone.